So you were filming, knowing that, or trusting that you would be shown like where to go. So you were just following the leads and the cues. Was there intuition also that was happening simultaneously?
Absolutely. We got to the place where my great-grandfather was buried. And I will remember this moment always. My father was standing in the cemetery, and something in me knew to just get quiet and hang back. And I just kept rolling. I didn't know where this was going, but I knew there was something in this moment. And as I'm sure you can see and your viewers can watch in the documentary, which is on the site, there's a moment where I walk up to my dad with the camera and some tears have started to roll down his cheeks, and he's letting me know that his grandfather, his greatest hero's grave is nowhere to be found. That in the years following his death, because of his status as a refugee, he no longer had a place in the cemetery.
Wow. Now I understand why he had tears trickling down, because he felt, in the moment, he felt that the fruits of all of the energy that have gone into being in this moment, he thought in that moment
That's right.
that was the end.
That's right.
But something happened that it was actually a beginning.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's the story.
And that's the story. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So together, my dad and I decided we would create a memorial for Ali, and this became the basis for the documentary.
Hi, if you're within the sound of my voice, you are watching or listening to the Sterling Spin podcast, and I'm excited to bring you a new spin on loving, living, and learning. And I'm excited because every time we come into the studio, I have a new guest. Today with me is Katherine Eid Wild. You know what? I did. I got the Eid down all last night. I'm like, I have to remember it's Katherine E-I-D, Eid, like in read. And then I went blank on the Wild. I want to keep it and keep moving forward, because there are moments in life where we go blank, and that's just a thing that happens.
That is a part of it.
It is indeed. I want to welcome you. You are a storyteller, a powerful storyteller, a filmmaker whose work weaves ancestral memory, personal myth, and poetic narrative. You have a lot of history in your young years, and you've been about the world, traveling, meeting people, but really in pursuit of a story that I think you say stories of our lives can live in our bones. So let's just start right there. Where are the stories of our lives, and how could they be in our bones?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here with you.
I'm grateful you're here too.
Thank you. Yeah, so I started listening to the stories that my father would share about his native Lebanon when I was just a little girl. My earliest memories are being around the dining room table, and he would serve us Lebanese food, and he would tell us these stories about his grandfather, my great-grandfather, and stories about my grandmother. And this was the only way that I knew how to connect with this faraway place that he was from.
So he brought to you his memories. Do you think it was intentional? Do you think he was like, I want to keep our heritage, our lineage alive in my granddaughter? Or do you think it was just his way of being in the world and that he had love from his homeland?
It's a great question. My dad and I have talked about it a little bit. He's told me that it was a way he knew he could capture my attention. That, as a young person in America, growing up with all these different interests and activities and ways of being that were so foreign to the way that he grew up, I was living in a totally different world than the one he grew up in. And he said when he would turn his attention towards these stories and he would begin to share them, something in me would start to pay attention.
Wow. So he knew how to get to you. Okay, so I'm going to just tell you what's happening for me right now. There's something in the cadence of your voice that I picked up. It sounded like that. It was like rhythmic or rhyme or flow or water. I don't know how to describe it. I bet the people who are watching this are like, when she speaks, it's like mesmerizing. But you're not being a storyteller right now, or are you? Like, where do they separate?
Well, I have always had a really powerful connection to my voice. I think we each have different, maybe centers of the body where we feel a little bit more at home. And for me, I've had a really strong connection to my voice my whole life. When I was, I think, 7, I found a voice class in a church, and the day I found that, I went to my mom and I said, "This is it. This is what I want to do."
Wow.
And
Use your voice. You didn't know to become a storyteller or a poet or.
at the time, it was really connected to music, to singing. I followed that path for a long time. I ended up going to college for vocal performance. I started to get this sense that something was not quite right. I didn't quite have what it took to become an opera singer or go on stage for musical theater. I knew I had this drive and this passion, and the channel that I was kind of being funneled into didn't quite fit.
Boy, when you say that funneled into, it's like, isn't it true that we get into a groove sometimes and there's a momentum that society, it's just like, this is how the road has been carved.
That's right.
You fall in. But when you have that gnawing sense, you use the word sense, for me, it's like a feeling, like a something doesn't quite feel right. It's not fitting. Eventually it'll get your attention and it'll go, whoa, wake up and listen. And I'm just going to assume that that's what happened. The way you were talking about it is like you were getting closer.
That is exactly what happened. I had a series of really powerful events right towards the time that I left college. It started with a car accident and then a bike accident.
Whoa.
And then I had a really powerful dream, a dream where all these cars were going down the road and they were all turning down this road that everyone was going down. But when I went to make that same turn in the road, I crashed right into a wall. And when I woke up from that dream, I had the most overwhelming sense that I needed to make some kind of change. I had no idea what. And it was maybe a month later, I had dropped out of school. I bought a one-way ticket to Hawaii and a backpack. And it was on that trip, that adventure, that I found my voice as a writer.
So your voice as a writer, as a poet, as a storyteller, and as a filmmaker. You're a filmmaker and you've studied filmmaking now, and you've made a movie about your grandfather and the search for your great-grandfather. And that is just worth noting. So I'd like to say I'm so happy for you and feel so honored that I'm sitting with someone who was inner directed and that it came through the dream and that you could see the momentum or the movement or the lack thereof and make that shift. Lebanon also called you. I don't know if that was in a dream per se, but as someone who found your voice and now found it through filmmaking as well, I've looked at some of the work that you've put up on the internet. So let everybody know where they can find you, where they can find your story, which is compelling, and then tell us some of the story.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, if you want to check out my film and some of my storytelling, you can find that at wildstorytelling.com. And when I was in Hawaii, I found a writers group. And what continued to pour out of me during this time were all of the stories that my dad had given me around the dining room table. It was the only thing that I felt compelled to write, and I wrote these stories over and over and over through different lenses and in different ways. And it was years later, almost 10 years later, I decided I would go back to school. And I thought for sure I was going to become a psychotherapist. I was going to be in a helping profession, but I'd never finished my undergrad. When I left for Hawaii, I had left that unfinished. So I had to go back and complete this degree. And right at the end of that program, I had 2 electives left. And on a whim, I took cinematography and video editing.
On a whim, ha ha ha. You think, I mean, you say on a whim, you think it was on a whim, but do you believe like you were being, internally guided to do that? It was like something that had to happen.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm
yeah,
so happy.
there was there was a tickle there, something that said, just try this out.
Yeah.
And there was just enough fear that I knew there must be something good on the other side.
Wow, that is so great that you said that. I mean, right, it's like, oh my God, this is bigger than me.
Yeah, exactly.
The little me that thinks, who am I or how could I, from some of our messaging. I feel like you got really great messages growing up from your family. Did you struggle with your knowing that you were here, plugged into America, living the life like when you were young, back to when you were like 7 years old and younger? Did you have that struggle between the old and the new and the fitting in and feeling different? Did that show up?
For sure. Absolutely. Yes. That was very much the way that I walked through the world. I always felt a little bit on the outside. I definitely felt like the daughter of 2 worlds. I was very much American. I was raised as an American, and with all of the gratitude for what that means, that was very much alive in our family as
At the
the daughter
time.
of an immigrant.
Right.
There's a lot of things that my father gave to me in terms of feeling deeply grateful for what it means to have been born here, to receive all of the benefits that come from this land and
It's people.
its people. Yeah.
Yeah. I can feel that
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah.
So you had that appreciation. You took the cinematography class. You started learning about something, that fear. It was still there with you. And how did it transform into creation?
Yeah. Well, I had a really wonderful teacher, and I was given an opportunity to sit down and I was truly deeply asked what it was that I was here to make as a creative person. And again, what flooded right up to the surface were these family stories. I knew that I wanted to continue to chew on them, to turn them into something. And I went to sit down with my dad at that point and put him on camera. And I told him, I want to record all the stories that you gave to me when I was little. And it was during that interview that he invited me to Lebanon. And that's how the documentary was born, was getting to venture over to this part of the world as an adult and see these places with my own eyes.
The name of it is A Spring for Ali.
That's right.
That was your great-grandfather.
That's right.
So, great story. You shared your story, and I loved watching it, and it was beautifully produced, and I was like hopeful and prayerful and grateful. You did translation. You didn't know the language. I saw you looking at your phone and trying to translate and talk to your family members and get supported, and it was good. Everybody has their own story. What's the intrinsic message for someone who's watching right now? And they're like, well, she has her story. What do you want them to know about the story of their life, or what the meaning of their voice could be if they could see it through your eyes?
Well, I think for each one of us, it shows up really uniquely. I really believe we're each here to find ways to tap into whatever that little voice is that's nagging at us, that says, keep going in this direction, or turn that leaf. And I'm really curious about ancestry in particular as a doorway to understanding our place in something so much bigger than ourselves. For me, getting to tap into this story that my father gave to me, the story of my great-grandfather, the story of my grandmother, these for me are doorways into a big story of which my life is just one small part playing out across deep time. And I believe that ancestry can be a doorway for any of us who are called to begin to look into the specifics of the stories that were passed, the little symbols that have been handed down through story or through pictures, through memories.
As you're speaking, I'm getting images of like links, how we're all linked together and we're linked in our own history. I also am sensing that for some people, they don't have all those positive influences. They may have been in families that were fraught with toxicity or dysfunction, and that's colored their perception. And I also felt that we could move that aside just enough to peek into the history and the lineage and the ancestry with new eyes, with eyes that are looking for those little baubles or gems or something that stands out that we can carry along and then pass on. So you opened a doorway for me. I had a doorway open, actually. I traveled to India a number of years ago, about 20 years ago or so. And I went to India carrying the weight of my family's history and pain and dysfunction and hurts and whatnot, like everybody carries. And I went for a morning ride on the Ganges on a boat, and it was very early. And I all of a sudden felt coming up through me was this feminine, they call it the Mother Ganga, and she sang through me, and I started humming on the boat these sounds, and it was a purification. Little did I know until I got home, I didn't have that pain from my history anymore. It had like left, like she had consumed it or dissipated it on the Ganga, and it was gone. And I felt really free to be able to have enough space to love and be loved. And it was a profound experience that I felt it with the doorway opening for someone who's watching this right now to know that you can choose to look back, even if you've had loss or pain and suffering and struggling, but to look with that eye that's looking for, the beauty, where that water springs forth from. I'll pick up the spring analogy.
That's really beautiful. I'm really impacted by your story, and I'm impacted by how voice was a powerful piece in this expression.
Right. I hadn't thought about that. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. Let's just pause for a moment. My guest, this beautiful woman, can be reached on her website, which is Wild, WILD Storytelling. And this is the Sterling Spin podcast, and I'm Liz Sterling. And what I would like you to do is right now, if you're watching, just subscribe. You can like, and you can even share what you're hearing, because this information is one that can go far and wide. Also, you'll see a little bell, hit the bell for notification. And every time that we have a new show, that's every Sunday we drop a new show, you will be notified. We also are so grateful to those who have stories and who've been contacting me. So I want to thank everyone. My email address is sterlingspin@gmail.com. And if you have a story, I want to know about it, and I'd love to get you into the studio and we can share it with others. And what's also happening is an invitation for sponsors, people who are recognizing that the Sterling Spin is something that you would like to support and grow and be recognized on our show. So there you go. We have it. We're going to return now to Katherine Eid Wild. And she joins us, and she has soulful performances that she does. She merges dream work, time and nature, and intergenerational narratives to create immersive, soulful performances. So you were invited by your dad to go to Lebanon to do what, and what happened?
Yeah, so my father and I landed in Beirut and went up to the little town where he was from, where he was born and raised, a suburb of Tripoli in the north of the country. And he took me around to each place that was the source of a story that he'd given me around the dining room table when I was
You
little.
got to go to those places.
That's right. And thankfully had camera in hand. And yeah, I got to record each of these places for myself, standing in the house where he was born, the house where his father had been a part of building the house with his own two hands. We went to see the place where my great-grandfather had lived in the refugees neighborhood, as well as the place where my great-grandfather had been buried. And this became in documentary film, we're always following a story as it unfolds. We have some general sense of where we're going, but similar to storytelling, live storytelling, there's an act of creation that's happening in the moment. And we are stepping into the unknown, sort of stepping off of a cliff and growing wings on the way down. So I was following this story, knowing, okay, I'm in the place where these stories were born, but I don't quite know what this documentary is about. And
So you were filming, knowing that, or trusting that you would be shown like where to go. So you were just following the leads and the cues. Was there intuition also that was happening simultaneously?
absolutely. We got to the place where my great-grandfather was buried. And I will remember this moment always. My father was standing in the cemetery, and something in me knew to just get quiet and hang back. And I just kept rolling. I didn't know where this was going, but I knew there was something in this moment. And as I'm sure you can see and your viewers can watch in the documentary, which is on the site, there's a moment where I walk up to my dad with the camera and some tears have started to roll down his cheeks, and he's letting me know that his grandfather, his greatest hero's grave is nowhere to be found. That in the years following his death, because of his status as a refugee, he no longer had a place in the cemetery.
Wow. Now I understand why he had tears trickling down, because he felt, I mean, in the moment, he felt that the fruits of all of the energy that have gone into being in this moment, he thought in that moment
That's right.
that was the end.
That's right.
But something happened that it was actually a beginning.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's the story.
And that's the story. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So together, my dad and I decided we would create a memorial for Ali, and this became the basis for the documentary.
So you came back to the States and then you went back to do so you could put the whole pieces together.
That's right.
It's a beautiful story, and I hope you'll go on Catherine's website and you'll have a chance to watch. It's called A Spring for Ali. It's really beautiful. You do now. I'm very impressed. I mean, you have a one-woman show. You are traveling. You are presenting all through the country. I think in 2024 and 2025, you've been at dozens of locations in which you're being received and your work is coming forth. And before we go there, I know about Maharishi University in Fairfield, Iowa. So that's where you live. And that is intriguing me because I've had some very good, dear friends who've come out of Fairfield. So how'd you get there? What have you learned? What can I learn from you? And, don't worry, we have 7 minutes. I want it all. Come on.
Wow. Well, what could I say? That university gave me so much. That's where I returned to school later as an adult to finish my undergraduate degree, and they welcomed me with such open arms to really explore where my curiosity and where my creativity were for me. That's where I found film and felt really nurtured and supported to discover what it was that I truly wanted to create. And their whole program is consciousness-based education. So everyone meditates as a part of the curriculum, and we study what it means to use meditation as a tool to develop ourselves internally so we can have greater access to creativity, to inspiration, and to the drive and follow through to actually take action on those inspirations.
So could we say it's like a practice for listening in?
I think we could definitely say that.
And that's what the meditation that was proposed, it's like you don't have to do it this way or follow this rule or Zen people this or the Buddhist that. It was like you're going inward. And is there a specific, is it mantra-oriented meditation that you're doing? Is it designed for you? Does everyone do the same? How do you get in there?
Yeah, so transcendental meditation in particular is a very specific form of meditation, and everyone who attends the university is taught this way. It's a mantra-based meditation, and they say that it enlivens the field within, which is the source of creativity. And there's beautiful research from many traditions. Now we know that there's a lot of ways into this beautiful field within. It's in all of us. And there's many, many roads and many paths that lead us there.
How beautiful and wonderful that you landed there. I guess no coincidence. And had the gifts that came from really being broken open or opened up. I say broken open. I would imagine that you learned a lot, and you let go of a lot too once you go into the inner realms. So,
That's right. Yeah.
And you're still called Fairfield, Iowa, Maharishi University folks you're still participating, or friends, or what's that like, and how does it not only sustain, but how does it continue to inform you today?
Well, I feel deeply connected to the community in Fairfield. There's a really beautiful, generous, and highly creative community living in Fairfield, Iowa. a surprising little town. It's incredibly diverse. I think there's more art galleries per capita than maybe anywhere else in the country. There's just an incredible wealth of creativity coming out of this place. And after I graduated, I was living in Iowa, and it was members of that community who were continuing to support me creatively, continuing to inquire about what was next. And I started writing again. So this was years after my initial writing groups that had started 15 years before, maybe 10 or 15 years before. Writing these family stories that turned into the documentary. And I found myself back with the blank page, continuing to write these stories, but I had a whole new story now. I had a story that I was also in. I had the stories of venturing to Lebanon for myself. And as I started writing these stories out on the page and speaking them aloud at community gatherings and open mics in Fairfield, that became the birthplace of the show that you referenced that I'm touring with now.
And is it Miroth?
Mirath.
Miroth.
Yeah, mirath.
What
It's
does
an
it mean?
Arabic word. Well, you'll have to watch the show to find out.
Okay, well, I'll be there. So Miroth, and
Mirath.
that is,
Yeah.
wow.
It's
I'm smiling. I know I feel one more question
Sure.
before we wrap up, and it really has to do with the voice. When I think of some people, like I'm from New York, so I've got that voice that's like the New Yorker. You know, everybody knows, oh, you're from Long Island, and that's where you live. Yeah. But when I think of a voice, I don't think you're talking about just the sound that comes through. You're talking about something else. And before we wrap this up, for our listeners and for our viewers, why is the voice important? And how's the best way you feel that we can access it and then utilize it?
Wow. Well, the voice is connected so deeply internally, isn't it? It's a way for us to express what's only purely on the inside and find a way to express it on the outside. And it's something that in my own lineage, I've found story after story of people going all the way back who, for one reason or another, didn't have full access to that voice. And the story that I find myself uncovering as I continue to dig into my ancestry and the stories that I hear from those who I get to work with in workshops around the country is that there's something incredibly subtle and powerful that happens when we return to the place that once held the wound and we find a way to express clearly and wholly
Wow.
back out from that healed place.
I feel excitement. And I am excited for the gift that you have brought to the Sterling Spin podcast today, to me, to our viewers and listeners. And I thank you so much. I really am so grateful for your presence, your beautiful presence, and your voice.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for having me.
You bet. Thank you so much. And until the next time that you are within the sound of my voice, I want to thank you for being here because your presence matters and you make a difference. And so thank you. I'm Liz Sterling. Be well, be blessed, and keep spinning toward tomorrow today.